G'day. We're going to be looking at how to create a case study. Now, I've created a 7-step model on how to create a case study. We're going to walk through that with an exemplar, and then from there, hopefully be able to teach you, the student, or whoever's watching this, how to properly research material, analyze that, and whether you're writing it in a paper, you're speaking to it, or you're presenting it in a PowerPoint, present that in a way that comes across to the reader clearly, succinctly, and detailed enough. So, first thing you need to do is read the article quickly. What does that mean? Well, I'll take an article and I'll read through it, let's say 5 to 10 seconds per page. The whole point in doing this is to discover what is the article dealing with. Okay, is it dealing with climate change? Is it dealing with Putin's speech? Is it dealing with rugby? Is it dealing with acid rain? Is it dealing with a certain president or prime minister or leader? Okay, what is this talking about? And so I'm able to garner from that. It's about climate change. Again, 5 to 10 seconds per page, nothing longer. You're just skimming through it. What is this about? And then from there, you reread in detail and highlight the important points. And so I've done that here. I've reread this in detail, highlighted the important points. Now, I'll get students who will say, I'm not really sure if this is important. Well, if you're not 100% sure that you won't need it, you want to highlight it. If you don't understand the word, you definitely want to highlight it because that's usually terminology that relates to the topic that you might not be aware of. I remember once when I was teaching sports and entertainment marketing class, I gave them as a diagnostic at the beginning of the semester an article on the WWE. And it was a very short, succinct. I told students, look, research it. If you don't know what a word means, dictionary.com, Google it, YouTube it. And then I had an interview with them one on one, okay, just at my desk, nothing major, not in front of anybody, not to embarrass them, but just to find out did they know how to research properly. And I'd ask them, well, what's a turnbuckle? Because in the article it said a turnbuckle, that somebody was pushed into a turnbuckle. I was talking about Vince McMahon and how he led by example, and good leaders lead by example. And you see the sort of deer in the headlights for some students because they didn't know what a turnbuckle was at all. They didn't know if that was a disease, if that was a finishing move. I got a lot of creative and unique answers. It showed me the student didn't do the work they were supposed to. And so this is something you need to do when you're researching an article. Make sure you understand everything in there. And again, you're reading it, you're highlighting it, and then step 3, you're summarizing all the points in your own words. Now, that one, it actually kind of depends on what the point is. Like, what are you doing? Are you researching to analyze? Because if you're analyzing, you might not want it in your own words. You might want to be quoting people and then analyzing from there. So, really depends on what you're doing. I suggest to most students they put it in their own words because if they get caught plagiarizing or if they put some in their own words, some not, they might accidentally plagiarize, and that's really bad. So I would suggest you put it in your own words, but it really depends on what the purpose is of what you're researching. Are you there to analyze it, analyze somebody else's work, or you're there to come up with your own thesis point of view? Okay, and so this is an example of my points page. What I've done is I've taken the just looking at the first 2 points about 3 years after they signed off on the Paris deal. Now they're getting together to agree on the rules. Okay, they have almost 200 nations who have different political and economic demands, and so it's going to be challenging. And so I've put that in there in my points page among some of the other points. From there, we go to step 4. Now, I haven't done step 4. I'm just doing a simple video on this, but students will tell me, sir, I don't need to do step 4. Yes, you do. You need to get additional information so that, one, you can ensure that your article doesn't have errors in it. Sometimes I'll see, say, CNN, they'll say, oh, we're reporting live from the capital of Canada here in Toronto. Well, that's not the capital of Canada. Okay, and I've actually seen CNN do that. That's a real life example I saw a couple decades ago. Okay, and human beings make mistakes. Okay, and so you have to realize that you want to get an article, make sure, and then an additional article to say, hey, okay, yeah, this information's correct. This information's not biased. Many a time, I'll see two articles on the same topic. One says it's the best thing ever. The other one says this is horrible. Okay. And especially with net neutrality, sometimes you'll see people who will purposely put incorrect information in an article or in a newscast or even on a video. Now they can do that. And so you want to make sure that your information is valid, and that's why you get additional articles. From there, you need to categorize all your information. And so I've started doing that. I looked at the first article, the first point, 3 years after Paris climate deal, world leaders gather in Poland to agree on the fine print. And so I decided I'd call that climate change specifics. Let's say, because I'll get students who are like, well, let's say I wanted to call it climate change specifications. Sure. Let's say I wanted to talk about Poland hosting the specifics of the climate deal. Sure. You're not limited to it has to be this way. You're the one writing the paper or making the speech or doing the PowerPoint. So you decide what categories they fall into, recognizing that these are fluid, these can change. So if you look at this, and this is a partial, and then you look at my finished work, you'll notice, for instance, category 2, I called it challenges. Now I'm sort of specifying its individual nation challenges. Okay, I could have expanded that and said challenges and something else because I found something that, hey, I can relate these 2 points together. Okay, and that's up to you. From there, I need to do step 6, which is organize my material. And so what I've done is I've taken all my points and I've put all the yellow ones together, all the green ones together, all the aqua ones together. That way they're organized. That way I have all the points related to the categories I'm going to be talking about. And again, you're not limited to 3 categories, although I usually tell students, look, you're writing a paper, you usually have 3 paragraphs in a paper, plus your intro, plus your conclusion, which usually for the intro I usually tell students, okay, now that you've done that, come up with some historical stuff behind this, which you can include in your introductory paragraph. And so students will do that. Okay, but yeah, you've organized the material, and then from there you rank it. What's your strongest point in relation to climate change deal specifics? That one is the first thing you're going to talk about. Then you're going to talk about your second, and then you're going to talk about your third point. You may bring in other points after that, but usually you're going to focus on the first 3. For individual nation challenges, you'll notice I've made these into 4 subtopics because I felt, you know what, and I only have one article. I'd get additional articles, obviously. So, but I've done my first article and I've been like, well, this is one good subtopic. This is a second one. This is a third one, and this is a fourth one. Okay. And so that's why you want to rank it so that you're able to argue your point of view. What's your strongest point comes first, then your second strongest point comes second, your third strongest point comes third, and then from there, any additional information. Finally, one last thing I get, sometimes students will find a point that doesn't go into any of these categories. Have a miscellaneous category. That could be a fourth, or assuming you're putting a historical category in there, it can be a fifth category. And from there, you might be able to use that in your introductory, in your conclusion, in relation to one of these 3 points. You never know. Okay. Anyways, I'm reporting for Lincoln Teaches. These are my 7 case study steps. I hope it provides you with the information you need in order to research and analyze work or give your point of view on a topic. Thanks for watching.